Aloha, this is Jessica Smith. I'm responding to the first chapter describing what is ethics, as well as each of the subtopics that he brought up. He brought up morality and like the theories behind it, and several different things, religion and etiquette and law and such things. He talked about how ethics is kind of the morals and moral philosophies are each concerned with things that ought to be, and then there are different ways to explain how and why. Not very concrete, so it's kind of hard to understand every once in a while, especially when you're tired. But it talks about, it focuses on the reasons for different behaviors, and they all seemed very culturally built, the way that he structured each of these, that all of them in their each and own different way were built on the culture or society, because each different culture will have different morals, different etiquette, different laws, and different reasons for doing the things that they do and for acting the way that they do, because each culture acts very differently, much less the reasoning behind it. We're all going to be very different. But he talked about, for example, with etiquette, he talked about, it's not necessarily morally wrong, but it's more just a how to do things, how to greet people, how to eat politely, and all these different things, which was kind of tied in my mind to coordination, to make sure that it's moving together. Whereas I saw morals and, like, for example, law being more of a coherence. This is very clearly defined, so that everyone can understand what is going on. But it was, either way, it was all culturally built, and could be specific to the location. He gave the example of some Americans who had gone to India and gone to the beach, not properly clothed. They weren't wearing enough clothes, which was fine in one culture, but not in the Indian culture, and the differences that were there. He also went into detail about why we need to have a sense of morality, why we need to have ethics and etiquette, and all of these different things. The second half of the article focused mostly on the book The Lord of the Flies, and how that human nature, which did in this sense specifically focus on English choir boys, I believe, but that it was human nature, like when there are no rules, when all of the rules are taken away, how the little society that they had formed would kind of fall apart, and so they would need a sense of morals and of ethics in order to have a society that can survive. Otherwise, it would be complete chaos. And it brought up the question of human nature, like how man really would act if it didn't have morals, if it didn't have laws or etiquette, and all of these different things that are culturally created, but that they were created for a reason, and everything kind of tied together in what it was, because everything was very, very similar, focusing on the human nature, how we should behave, and why we should behave. And so it was a very interesting reading, and then there was some of it that would just foreshadow into further chapters, so I'm very excited to read those chapters and to understand a little bit more clearly what he's talking about.